So you first came in, I know you said that you said life was very important to you, but you didn't say pro-life. So can we, I guess, establish what that means first, before I kind of want to unpack the personal story, which I can only imagine is harrowing. I've never been through that. I'm not going to act as though I can relate to that. I'll do my best as we discuss it. But you said life is very important to you, and then went into that story. What does that mean?
I've fought for life my entire life. I've risked my life for other people's lives. That's why I went into international relations.
Okay.
I worked at the United Nations. I was very successful at setting something up for people that live in rural areas, setting up social and economic development for them.
Okay.
It's something that I dedicated my education to. It's something I dedicated my career to. It's something that I was eventually captured by rebels in West Africa, trying to still fight for.
Right.
So it's not something that I take lightly
Sure.
at all. But the option for a woman, especially given the position that I was in, and when my obstetrician that I had...
I'm going to hold this a little closer because of all the ambulances, so forgive me, I don't mean to intrude, but we won't be able to hear you that well. Go ahead.
But when I went to my obstetrician when I was pregnant with my daughter at 16, or 15 actually, I had her when I was 16, she didn't say, what are you doing? Go take care of this.
So you wouldn't consider, so you asked if we were serious because you definitely don't consider yourself pro-life then, in that sense?
Not in that sense.
Okay. So my next question is, you used the word, you said rather than endure that trauma.
Right.
Did you mean that for the baby or yourself?
I meant it, I guess, primarily watching it. Every time I went in was increasingly more traumatic. Watching each cardiac cell die off was
Sure.
increasingly more traumatic.
Do you mean for you or traumatic on the...
For me and for my husband.
Okay.
Right.
So-
At that point in time, depending on what you believe, the nervous system hadn't really been fully formed, so I don't know how much trauma but it was dying nonetheless, and there was nothing that we could have done at that point in time based on the medication that I was taking.
It's interesting to me that you just used the word dying. Why would you use that word?
Because its cardiac cells were dying. So without those cardiac cells, its heart stopped and then it...
Sure.
Right.
But you said it was dying, not cardiac cells, it. So that would, I guess, would we agree that was a life?
That it was a potential life.
Was it a potential life or a life?
It was a potential life.
Okay, can you help me with this, again, being pro-life, differentiating between the idea, the potential of life versus a life. So when you say that is a potential life, potential for what?
A potential to grow into a baby that could self-sustain on some level outside of its mother's womb.
So you mean potential human. So the potential human is fulfilled into actual human. I want to make sure that I'm clear here so we understand the kind of the terms we're following. Mm-hmm. The potential human then becomes a human when it is sustainable outside of the womb.
I think that that's true. I think that until that point it is a decision because it is completely dependent on the mother.
Sure.
So to enforce certain laws or certain acts on her that the baby wouldn't be able to survive otherwise, I don't think is exactly pro-life. I mean, if you could extricate the baby and put it in a incubator pod or something, then maybe that would be more ideal.
But we've just agreed it's not right. It's not your body at that point. If it's a baby in an incubator, right?
Right.
That's a life.
Right.
So we have potential life and life.
Going to then take care of that baby in the incubator?
Well, that's not what we're determining right now. What we're talking about is I'm pro-life, meaning I believe that that's a life. So it's first important, I think, if we're going to have a discussion and determine where we disagree, for example, as to where life begins, right?
Okay.
So according to what you just said, it's not life, it's potential life. Mm-hmm. Now, then we talked about technology and sustainability. So would you support abortions up until the moment of birth? Where does the line end then at that point? What makes it okay versus not okay? When is it a life?
That's an interesting question. Personally, and I've never been in the position of someone who's had to have one. I find partial birth abortions grotesque.
So let's look at the fetal development. Where is it okay for you? What point is it okay to kill?
That's an interesting question, because you're using the word kill and murder. That I don't...
Let's remove murder and kill. Let's assume that the abortion is accidental, so it's not murder.
Again, I don't believe in putting these...
At what point is it, I've said unique DNA, it's separate from the mother and father. At that point, the only consistent line, of course, in comparison to viability, sustainability. Here? You sounded like a question mark.
Well,
You're not sure.
I don't know. It's this ovulation period, so I'm trying to see where the actual conception is taken care of is taking place according to what you put in front of me.
Yes, okay, so that's conception, week 1.
Okay.
So where is it okay to, where on this chart is it morally okay to kill?
Okay. Morally okay to kill, again, is a difficult question, and it's putting me into a box.
Okay, where is it morally okay to terminate a pregnancy? Let's use that term. I'm just trying to, because I've answered the question, I hope, as clearly as I can, conception. So I just would like to see it pick on the scale. Maybe that'll determine where we disagree.
It's not, because I'm looking at pictures of developing babies, and I can see their characteristics forming on their fingers and their toes, and I understand what is going on, and I had a very difficult pregnancy with my daughter, so I went into the doctor 2 or 3 times a week, so I know exactly what happens at every point. Again, I think it's very dangerous to put these very specific lines and say, okay, for this woman X, this is the point. For this woman Y, this is the point. I don't agree with putting those distinctions, because we don't know what's...
Where is it okay?
We don't know if she's in Virginia.
To end this life.
We don't know if she's in New York. We don't know if she's been raped. We don't know what the circumstances are. Being a person that suffered, has PTSD myself, the trauma of a rape or whenever she's able to actually take care of it, that's a separate question.
That's irrelevant. Where is it okay to kill that life?
It's not irrelevant. I'm saying it's dangerous to put those parameters on.
But they do exist. They do exist. The parameters exist, whether you like them or not, or I like them or not.
Parameters exist, but
there are laws.
Still legal.
There are laws. Exactly. There are legal avenues. There are laws. So I'm asking your opinion. Where should the law be? Where is it okay?
I don't think there should be one. I think that there are unique situations. I don't think that we should be mandating women's rights that way.
So nowhere here should there be any law.
No, I don't think there should be a law.
There shouldn't be any law that you can't
Based on
kill.
How I feel about it morally does not change. Does not change what her personal experience is, and
it doesn't change what this is. It doesn't change what these things are. You're looking right now at
but
people.
But you're supposing that, and I have a real woman standing in front of me telling what's really going on.
But this is real. This happened millions, many millions. You're talking about each week. That's real. So why is it? At what point is it okay to? You asked me. I said conception. This is where DNA is created. Mm-hmm. It's entirely different. Mm-hmm. You talked about heartbeat, obviously unique from the mother and father. I've given you a clear answer.
And I've given you clearance.
You haven't. You said you don't believe in any limitations at all.
I think that there are situations that are so unique that to put laws on them would be a travesty and would be a punishment for certain women. I find partial birth abortions grotesque.
Okay.
I can't be the judge of that, and I think that it's, again, dangerous to start this discourse without having other things like the education and blending in place, because when you start
How is this not education? Right here, this tells you exactly what kind of development, where the baby is at each week. Is that not education? Right now you have the education of what that fetus, baby, to use your terms, is. Couldn't possibly be more informative.
No, until we have more education that's honest in this country about how contraception works, more responsible mentoring programs in terms of relationships and how conception works, until there's a support network that's in place for these women that would have made other decisions, but as you say, you support adoption, and that's a clearer, less guilted, morally repugnant path where a woman has to hang her head for 9 months and then painfully give away. Until those things have changed, I think it's dangerous to set these precedents and make these laws, because we don't have the support mechanisms in place for the after effect.
Sure. Okay. So no abortion laws. Appreciate it. That's your opinion. Very honest about it. Thank you.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.